As a quick show of hands, who here gets annoyed when someone brings up the terms sustainability, environmentalism, or global warming? It's okay, you can be honest here. As a Floridian, people will sometimes ask me, or more often than not tell me, half of your state's going to be underwater by 2100 or something like that. And I can't even begin to imagine or let alone visualize what that could look like. So I did some research, and according to Climate Central and National Geographic, this is what South Florida looks like in 2170, where the sea levels have risen by a total of 5 feet because of unchecked pollution. Furthermore, this is what the city of Miami Beach looks like. And you'll be pleased to know that if you're still trying to get your morning run on South Beach, it's going to happen. But Miami Beach is nothing more than that. It's just a beach. No Collins Avenue, no Lincoln Road, and certainly no Flamingo Park. So as you can imagine, when somebody brings up sustainability, environmentalism, or global warming, you bet I'm annoyed. I'm damn annoyed. And I'm not just annoyed because of the horrifying prospect of what could happen to my homeland, but like some in my generation, I'm caught between some differing sentiments. The first is, well, damn. This is such a massive problem, this global warming climate change thing, and I should devote every one of my last resources and change everything that I'm doing to devote my efforts to solving this problem. But then I also think to myself, well, damn, 2170. I don't know about y'all, but I'm planning to be dead by then. My children, I think they're planning to be dead by then too. This whole underwater scenario just doesn't seem very realistic to the human mind, so why should I care? So today, ladies and gentlemen, I hope to show to you why you should care about this issue and why you should think more sustainably. One of the first times I came to the Scheller College of Business was in the spring of 2014 for a scholarship interview. And one of my interviewers was a gentleman by the name of Howard Cannell. Now, Howard has been a global sustainability leader at the Kimberly-Clark Corporation. He's on the board of multiple nonprofit sustainability initiatives here in Atlanta. And at the time, he was the managing director of the Ray C. Anderson Center for Sustainable Business at Georgia Tech. I really liked what he did and what he had to say in that interview. So I caught up with him a couple years later. And he said to me, Will, it is better to try to change 1% of Walmart than it is to open up 100 Ben & Jerry's when it comes to achieving your environmental sustainability goals. It is better to try to change 1% of Walmart than it is to open up 100 Ben & Jerry's. And what Howard meant by this is that a company like Walmart, which is the Fortune 1 company, it's the biggest company, has such a huge general impact that even making a small change to that can have more consequence on the world than opening up 100 smaller initiatives or businesses like Ben & Jerry's, even if part of their corporate mission is social responsibility and putting forth progressive ideas. So, being the skeptic Georgia Tech student that I am, I decided to put Howard's advice to the test. And I did so by participating in the 2017 Summer Co-op and Internship Carbon Reduction Challenge. We'll just call it the challenge for the purposes of this presentation. I think y'all will like that better. And I not only found Howard's advice to be valid, but also critically important. So I implore to you today, seek to change 1% of Walmart to achieve your sustainability goals. Now, before we look at why you should seek to change 1% of Walmart, let's look at why sustainability is good for business. Because many folks, to no fault of their own, and I genuinely mean to no fault of their own, may not see the connection between sustainability and profit. Here's just a small tidbit of evidence for you. According to the Scheller College of Business's strategic plan, and I quote, "Sustainability is one of 4 global business megatrends related to the continued success of business education and research." What that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that every worker, every student, every professor, every manager, every CEO, every small business owner who wants to be successful in business on this planet, this century, needs to keep these 4 things behind me at the front of their minds. And if there's anything that I've learned in my sustainability journey, it's that sustainability at its root is a systems issue, which means that it has a knack for affecting everyone and everything at any time. This could be as simple as getting a paper straw when you go to Ted's Montana Grill instead of getting a plastic straw pretty much anywhere else. Or it could be as complicated as a recent idea to generate solar power in Nevada, use high-speed direct current lines to transmit that energy cross-country, and then flipping on your light switch here in Atlanta. Sustainability is a systems issue, and it is critical to the future success of business. So for the carbon reduction challenge, I worked on a team at SunTrust Bank with 5 other interns from Georgia Tech. And if you're not familiar with SunTrust, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who may be watching outside of the region, SunTrust is the 9th largest consumer bank in the United States, with brick-and-mortar operations in 11 states, fueled by the passion and dedication of their almost 25,000 teammates. And our goal at SunTrust was to research, propose, design, and implement a sustainability project that would reduce SunTrust's carbon footprint. Our sponsor at SunTrust, Amy Ross, proposed to us a multitude of projects that we could tackle, some which were more standalone, some which were more interconnected and intricate. These were things such as starting a walk, bike, and take the train to work challenge, increasing LED lights on SunTrust properties, increasing the use of recycling on SunTrust properties, and reducing domestic staff air travel. Wanting to test this 1% of Walmart theory, we said, what's the biggest standalone carbon emitter here? And how can we make a narrow but impactful project in the realm of sustainability? So we went with domestic staff air travel. And while we could have made a very broad impact where we reminded SunTrust teammates of green things, green policy, and green ways of being in everything that they do and everywhere that they are from 8 to 5, as my best friend says, if anything, the carbon reduction challenge is an exercise in what to do when you have no experience, when you have no clout, and when you have no time. We were undergraduate interns with no previous corporate sustainability experience, and we had 8 weeks to do all of this. So we ran some calculations, and we said, okay, 1% of Walmart, right? So let's do this with flight reduction. What happens if we reduce SunTrust domestic staff travel by, let's say, 1 to 2% year over year for 5 years? Big impact was the result. 1.1 million pounds of carbon dioxide that wouldn't go into the atmosphere over 5 years. And then we said, a company as good and reputable as SunTrust, when they send their teammates for meetings and activities, probably doesn't make them stay in the airport and then do those activities in the baggage claim area. They probably rent a car to go to their meetings and activities. We looked at SunTrust's rental car policy, which read that the default option was an intermediate level car. We asked, what happens if we switch that to economy class? Big impact. 500,000 pounds of CO2 that wouldn't go into the atmosphere over the next 5 years. And then we circled back to flights and said, is there anything else to get out of this? And while we were looking for ideas, one of my colleagues proposed, is there such a crazy thing as an airline that emits less carbon dioxide? And if so, what happens if we took a small percent, let's say 5% of flights, from the current airline over to that more fuel-efficient airline over the same 5-year time frame. Turns out that does exist. And the result, big impact once again. 250,000 pounds of CO2 that wouldn't go into the atmosphere. So what does that leave us in the aggregate? In the aggregate, we could save SunTrust from emitting 1.85 million pounds of carbon dioxide and generate $2.1 million in total savings over 5 years. Now, if you're not a climate expert, you might have a little bit of trouble understanding what 1.85 million pounds of CO2 looks like. So for those of you in the room, 1.85 million pounds of CO2, generating that is the energy equivalent of watching the Ed Sheeran cameo on Game of Thrones on a 42-inch liquid crystal display television for 535 years nonstop. Who the hell wants to kill the planet for that? Seriously, though. Seriously. What does a project like what we did look like 10 years from now? What about 15 years from now? What does a small change like this eventually lead to? I'm pleased to announce that after meeting with C-suite executives at SunTrust, our rental car modifications were approved the next day. Yes, they were approved the next day. And our flight recommendations are currently under review with intent to implement. Now, you may be thinking, undergraduate interns with no experience, no clout, and no time go to big American bank and make significant carbon impact that gets approved immediately. Sounds a bit too good to be true, and I'm right there with you if you're thinking that. However, our team has stumbled across what we think is a more realistic two-part theory as to why our recommendations were considered and approved. 1, our recommendations were palatable. We proposed to modify just a small percent of SunTrust domestic staff air travel, 2% year over year for 5 years. And what this means is that we could make a significant carbon savings impact without really affecting or upsetting SunTrust's current travel environment. And secondly, we made our recommendations easy to implement, understand, and own, which means that people can take responsibility for them all the way down to the individual level. Let me give you an example. A teammate who travels for work at SunTrust may see the value in using a Skype video headset to avoid going to just 1 to 2 meetings per year. That is all that it takes to meet that first year 2% reduction target. And furthermore, for that teammate who must absolutely travel to that meeting or activity, he may see the value, or she may see the value, in renting something like a Ford Fiesta instead of a Ford Focus to benefit both the planet and the company's bottom line. It's not difficult to be part of solutions like these. And I genuinely and truly believe that if companies wish to be successful in their environmental and sustainability goals, they need to equip their employees with the education and tools necessary to make independent and autonomous decisions for the benefit of the company's carbon footprint. Let me be blunt with you for a second, because it wouldn't be responsible, it wouldn't be sustainable if we soften reality. Climate change, global warming, whatever it is that you want to call it, is the single biggest challenge that humanity as a species has ever faced. And it's not just one single issue, folks. It is a plethora of complicated, stressful, and extremely time-sensitive issues. And being sustainable calls for us to re-examine, re-evaluate, and reimagine every single institution that we have created as a species up to this day. Sustainability is really hard. And it's not just hard. It's revolutionary. However, sustainability is viewed according to how you want to paint the picture. Radical and revolutionary, or something maybe a bit more incremental. For SunTrust, we provided padding on top of their current sustainability platform that allows them to be more operationally efficient, allows them to compete better with peer institutions, and furthermore allows them to increase their technological prowess. This is an incremental change. And the fact that it is an incremental change means that it's easier to understand, implement, and own near term. It is a short-term win. So whether you consider yourself a leader, a manager, an owner, or someone of the ranks, when you go back to your office on Monday or Tuesday or today, Saturday, whenever it is you like to go to work, look for these short-term wins and keep looking for these short-term wins until your employees reach the level of education and your company reaches the level of transformation in its business model that allows it to make these radical sustainability changes when the time comes. Because after all, you can't paper straw your way out of saving Florida's coastlines. Sustainability is really hard. There's no doubt about that. But if we keep asking ourselves, if we keep tackling these, what if we change just 1% questions, we can begin to make progress. And we can begin to make progress more rapidly than we ever thought possible. And as Georgia Tech alum and sustainability champion Ray Anderson, may he rest in peace, probably would have said, it's a great way to brighten your corner of the world too. Change 1% to change the world. Here at the Georgia Institute of Technology, we proudly say, you can do that. Thank you sincerely for your time and attention. May you be successful in your sustainability endeavors, and most importantly, may God go with you on that journey. Thank you very much.